This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening, I'm Chuck Tinte. Brittany is away this week. Students packed into the Red River College Polytech campus today as they return to classes for fall term. But the number of international students is lower this year than in years past. RRC has seen an increase in enrollment overall, but it's not enough to make up for the drop in international students. The CBC's Mike Arsenault explains.
It's the first day of classes for Nishan Malhotra at Red River College. He's a first-year international student.
Definitely, I can tell by talking to other people who have been here before, and I can tell that, of course, there are less people, less international students here from before.
Rohit Kumar is finishing up his final term as an international student. He's noticed the decline too.
I've seen the difference, like before it was more, but now it's less, I would say, yeah.
Last year, the federal government put a cap on international student permits for a 2-year period. Its goal was to take pressure off the housing market by controlling the amount of international students coming to Canada. But nearly 2 years in, some post-secondary institutions are worried about finances. RRC Polytech President and CEO Fred Meyer says it's seeing an uptick in enrollment overall, but less international students on campus still has an effect.
Certainly is not an offset in the amount of tuition. International students pay a higher level of tuition, and we will have a financial impact with less students.
RRC couldn't say how many international students they'll have this year because enrollment is still ongoing.
And institutions are telling me this is an existential crisis for a lot of their finances.
Ken Steele studies education and is president of Eduvation Inc. He says the student cap was put in place very suddenly, and the schools that focused on international students are hardest hit.
They successfully recruited lots of international students, and then suddenly they had the rug pulled out from under them. So the whiplash is greater. And that's why we see some programs closing.
RRC says international registration is down, but domestic registration is up 8% from last year.
We've known that the changes the federal government is doing is going to reduce that, so we're planning for that. But it still is an impact to our institution as a result of less international students.
Still, Malhotra says he's excited about starting the year and meeting new people. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A devastating end to the search for a 29-year-old Norwegian adventurer. The body of 29-year-old Stefan Schottlevic was found on the banks of the Hayes River in northern Manitoba on Sunday. Schottlevic was walking along the Hudson Bay coast from Fort Severn, Ontario. RCMP and community searchers had been looking for him for more than a week after he failed to arrive in York Factory. Last week, his backpack and rifle were found in the same area. A family spokesperson said they are relieved the search has come to an end, and the family had discussed the risks involved in this adventure.
They have also talked to Stefan about possible outcome like this prior to his trip, bearing in mind all the significant risk that is in this area. And they have also decided to focus on the fact that Stefan lived his dream.
Schottlevic's dream was to make it all the way from James Bay to Alaska. He had been preparing for the trip for several years. An RCMP spokesperson says this search and rescue mission was one of the most difficult ever conducted in the province. Well, Bloodvein First Nation has put up signs in the community that they hope prevents outsiders from hunting in their territory. Leadership there says it's about protecting food sovereignty and preserving traditions for generations to come. But as CBC's Gavin Axelrod explains, the move faces some criticism.
Anyone entering Bloodvein First Nation has to go through this check stop. It's here to make sure people aren't bringing drugs and alcohol in. Now, it will be used to help keep non-Indigenous hunters out. Chief Lisa Young doesn't want outsiders hunting in their territory anymore.
For years, we've had non-Indigenous hunters invade our territory, overhunt our moose, leaving our community members without.
We are the owners of this land, and we are the only true managers of this territory.
Signs like these are being put up as a warning to people looking to hunt in Bloodvein. One is on the road before the check stop, Another is by the Blood Vein River, where people gathered for its unveiling. The community says for the past several years, outsiders have been wasteful and disrespectful to the land.
When you're driving along these rivers here and you see on the banks of a river an entire moose laying there, head missing, antlers missing, a hindquarter missing, that's an entire waste of food. And that could have been given to our members, that could have been shared among our people here.
Situated along the Blood Vein River, hunting and fishing are a way of life for the people who live here. But lately, moose are hard to come by.
Last year when we were hunting, we didn't have any successful hunts except for one hunt.
Chief Young's father, Frank, is a lifelong hunter and trapper.
We started this because of the people living around here. There's no moose around here. And there's no place to hunt when it's been occupied by outsiders.
Chief Young says anyone coming to the community with a provincial license to hunt in Blood Vein will be denied access. She's asked the province to stop issuing licenses for their territory. Manitoba Wildlife Federation's senior policy advisor, Chris Heald, called blocking access for hunters with licenses illegal and called on the provincial government to take action.
I hope cooler heads prevail, but I think it's the province that needs to step in and say, hey, these guys are legally authorized to go here, allow them to go, and you can't block a public access.
We're not doing this out of any type of hatred. We're doing this out of sustainability, our rights as treaty people, First Nation people.
In a statement to CBC News, Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures Minister Ian Bushy says discussions are being held with First Nations leadership as well as the Manitoba Wildlife Federation to address concerns and to support responsible wildlife stewardship. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Blood Vein First Nation.
Library visitors at Winnipeg's downtown branch still can't access the 4th floor. The city closed it last week over safety concerns, which is forcing some people to make alternative arrangements to get their books. The CBC's Cameron McLean has more.
If you want to take nonfiction books out of the Millennium Library, you might have to wait. The 4th floor, where those books are located, has been closed since last week. That's frustrating from people like Amber Fontaine.
I don't really like about the 4th floor being closed. I don't know how long it's been closed. I just started coming back to the library, but I have to put my books on hold, and then they have to go pick for me, and then I gotta come back in a couple days.
A man died after jumping over the balcony on the 4th floor on August 6th. Another person tried to climb over the railing last week, prompting the city to shut the 4th floor. Library user Stephen Manviler says the city should install a barrier.
Yeah, just put a cover over the top of the back there and probably everything will be good. That'll prevent it, right? Still feels pretty safe here when I come here, so it's not that bad. Yeah, bag check and everything, so yeah, I feel safe.
The city brought in metal detectors and security checks at the entrance to the library after a fatal stabbing in 2022. The community connection space inside the lobby had crisis workers available to help people coming into the library, but it closed at the start of this year after funding ran out. One library user said the city should reconsider that decision.
I think they need to do what they have to do to make it safer and ideally open up that space once again that helped out the community in the front there.
You're talking about community connections?
Yes, yeah. I think the librarians made a very good point that space was helping a lot of people that are in this area and it needs to be reopened.
The city says it's working to get the 4th floor open as soon as possible. In the meantime, visitors can ask staff on the 1st and 2nd floors for help getting items from the 4th floor. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A man who was wrongly linked to a child sex ring is now suing the RCMP and the Attorney General of Canada. Scott Joseph Taylor was one of 7 people charged last year. This came after an investigation alleged teens were being lured into performing sexual acts on men in exchange for drugs and money in Portage la Prairie. Although the charges against Taylor were dropped about 2 weeks after his arrest, he says being linked to the trafficking ring led to physical and verbal abuse against him. The lawsuit alleges police and the Crown were negligent and ignored details that exonerated him. None of the allegations have been proven in court, and statements of the defense have not yet been filed. And let's now bring in Riley Lachuk. Riley, it's been a wet start to this week.
Yeah, a bit of a soggy start to the week in the Red River Valley, through the Southern Interlake and the Parkland as well. We're looking at a shift on our air mass here from some of that cooler air to some more warm southerly air. And as that new air mass starts to push in, we're getting a bit of instability kicked up out of some of this cloud cover here. So that's why we've seen a few showers through the Red River Valley, certainly through the Interlake, even a few pockets where we've seen some heavier periods of rain throughout the day today. We'll see that tapering off as we get through the night tonight. And then we start to get into some warmer air as we get through Tuesday, and this lasts as we get through the next several days. So temperatures through the afternoon, you can really tell where that rain has held things back from 23s, 24s in the west to just 18s and 19s through the southern Interlake and the Red River Valley. So slightly cooler where we've seen some of that rain falling today. Still a bit damp out there at the moment. We are looking at a 27-degree high tomorrow afternoon, so almost 10 degrees warmer than we saw in the city today. Mix of sun and clouds, I'm calling it very comfortable, Chuck, and we'll talk about how warm things are getting as we get toward the long weekend when I come back.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Sail ahead. More than 100 years ago, thousands of Mennonites came to Canada from the Soviet Union. Now an oral history project aims to capture their stories before they disappear. More on that straight ahead. Researchers at the University of Winnipeg are working on what they say will be the largest oral history project on Mennonites in the country. They're trying to capture stories of those who fled the Soviet Union in the 1920s before those stories are lost. Justin Ficconi reports.
People would come to watch their relatives leave, and then they would, there'd be tears and everything like that, and then they board the trains.
Eileen Friesen's own family would have had a similar experience. She's describing what it was like for Mennonite families embarking on the journey to Canada from the Soviet Union in the 1920s, which often began with goodbyes at train stations across Soviet Ukraine.
They weren't meant for passengers, right? They were freight cars, and they would just impromptu, you set everything up, and they just put people in there.
Over 20,000 migrants came to Canada from the Soviet Union in the 1920s, fleeing the aftermath of war and revolution. Their memory lives on through their children. Friesen and her team at the University of Winnipeg have interviewed close to 80 of them.
They have a story to tell about their own childhood and growing up. What happens when you grow up with parents and grandparents who experienced war, revolution, immigration? How does that shape your childhood?
One of those children is Sarah Klassen, a 92-year-old Canadian author and poet. Her writing often reflects the Mennonite experience, though she says it's mostly inspired by her family and her own creative ambitions.
But I wasn't thinking of myself as a Mennonite writer. I just simply wanted to be a writer, and a writer has to have a story to tell, and my story happened to be a Mennonite one.
Klassen's first collection of poems reflected the hardship experienced by her mother in Yalta when her grandmother received treatment for tuberculosis. Friesen says many of the stories she's heard so far echo a similar and emotional tone.
Stories about just incredible tragedy of death in the family due to typhus or due to violence during the revolutionary period, and then struggles as they try to reestablish themselves in Canada.
Russlander Mennonite families faced a similar dichotomy to other immigrant groups. How do we adapt, but also not lose our identity at the same time? The project will shed light on the Mennonite experience in Canada, and Friesen says it'll help contribute to a better understanding of Canadian history. The stories from the project will be catalogued and stored at the Mennonite Heritage Archives. Friesen also plans to write a book and create a podcast based on what they've learned from the interviews. Justin Ficconi, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is now in Germany. It's the latest stop on a European trip focused on trade and military matters. Earlier in the day, he was in Poland, where he talked about Canada's commitment to NATO.
It will take us a few years to reach Polish levels of commitment. It's possible. But it's possible. And we have made that commitment. We will quadruple our spending on defense between now and the end of the decade.
Poland has a booming economy, so Carney's meeting with Prime Minister Tusk was a chance to talk about trade too. Carney also met with Canadian military personnel in Poland who helped train Ukrainian troops. He's yet to rule out a Canadian troop presence in Ukraine if and when the fighting with Russia ends. Now there's a new push to help Canadian smokers quit the habit. Tens of thousands of people are still dying each year across the country with illnesses linked to cigarettes and related nicotine products. Now Canada's first evidence-driven set of guidelines is aiming to change that. Christine Birac has the details.
Smoking kills around 48,000 Canadians a year, more than alcohol, opioids, suicides, murders, and traffic collisions combined. Now Canada's first ever national guideline is out to help people quit. A list of proven strategies, including in-person or text-based counseling, nicotine replacement therapies, even a natural health medication.
We have some really powerful tools that are accessible.
But perhaps surprisingly, e-cigarettes or vaping are low down the list of aids.
It's definitely not a go-to first-line choice, especially when there are so many other effective approaches available.
Let me hypnotize you to quit smoking.
For many, though, it's tough to figure out what is effective. With profit-driven ads, flooding feeds, doctors warn smokers need help.
So I know this stuff works, guys. I am proof of that.
We asked a doctor about some of those claims.
So here are some of the things that people might be hearing work. Acupuncture.
Doesn't really work very well.
Hypnosis.
Doesn't really work very well.
St. John's wort.
No good evidence that it does anything.
He says if something's helped someone, great. But the reality is,
People need to know that their chances are way better if they get help, and they should be open to that, and that there are many options that work, and we can help them find one that works for them.
We help patients.
this addiction hospital is welcoming the guidelines, which include an old, cost-effective medication called cytosine. It mimics nicotine's effect in the brain.
When nicotine shows up, it blocks nicotine from acting. So the experience of the person smoking will say, you know what, my cigarettes, I can't finish my cigarettes. I don't like my cigarettes. I can go longer without cigarettes. And what it does is it sort of boosts their willpower to stop.
I'll never stop thinking about quitting. It would be smart. Of course, I'm not a stupid person. I'm just an addictive person.
New help for a deadly old habit. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
And Riley Lachuk is back. Riley, today was a bit sad. I went to the balcony. And I can't drink my coffee there anymore. It's a bit cold.
You know, a decent weekend though, even though it's a bit cooler. Yeah, chilly morning. It gives us a taste of where we're going once we get into September. Wanted to show you our morning low temperatures from this morning because, yeah, it's been a while since we've had a morning like this, right? Fort Frances +2 first thing in the morning. Dryden at 4 degrees. Winnipeg, we were at 6 fours through western part of the province as well. Give this a day because we are looking at things resetting here once we get certainly into Tuesday, but a lasting warmth that will take us really right through the long weekend. So it's this trough of low pressure, this trough in the jet stream that allowed some of that cooler air in for the weekend. This is departing, and in some of this extra energy here, this is where we've seen some of that shower activity as we await the entrance of this ridge that has formed in the west. And this is what's really going to help drive our temperatures up with some of that more southerly air allowed to filter in to the southern prairies as we get through the next couple of days. So that shower activity clears out as we get through the night. Tonight, we start under a mainly sunny sky, a few clouds first thing in the morning. Our next week feature, this cold front that pushes through associated with a low further north, could spark a few showers as we get overnight Tuesday into Wednesday. Certainly the possibility of some extra cloud cover really across the province as we get into Wednesday. And yeah, out of some of this, maybe a couple of scattered showers. Not really worth noting in the forecast, but just know that as we get early Wednesday, we could see a couple of extra showers, maybe some extra cloud cover as we get through the day. And then we are into warm temperatures again as we get toward the end of the week. So you can see how this ridge starts to push a little bit further eastward as we get toward the middle of the week, but this trough in the jet stream pretty deep, pretty stubborn, so there's going to be some clashing here as we get toward the middle of the week. So we won't see, you know, the warmest air here in Manitoba, but certainly looking at temperatures remaining above seasonal for this time of the year, not only for the short term, but really looking at that lasting as we get through the long weekend. And I am looking at the potential for another steady rain coming our way as we get into early next week, right in time for back to school. So look at these temperatures, compare them to what we saw through the afternoon hours today. Winnipeg looking at 27 through the afternoon tomorrow, some 28s, some 29s on the board into western Manitoba through Dauphin, even northern Manitoba looking at temperatures above seasonal for this time of the year as we get through the next few days here. That warmth sticking around, so there's that slim chance of showers early into Wednesday, 26 degrees on Wednesday. Chuck looking at 24 into Thursday, and temperatures warming up as we get into the weekend.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Coming up, get ready, get set, run. Corgis from around the world raised in Lithuania over the weekend. That story ahead, plus your daily lift. Stay with us. 120 teams across Europe gathered this weekend to take part in Lithuania's international Corgi race. Thousands gathered to witness cute corgis in a variety of competitions, including a solo sprint, a mightiest voice challenge, a costume contest, and group racing. The event also included a World Corgi Meetup, where the dogs virtually met with their furry counterparts around the world.
The perfect segue into our dog walking forecast tonight. We have Jessie, who belongs to 7-year-old Andre. And you know what? I can just tell by looking at this picture that Andre has trained Jessie very well to sit and anticipate that walk as we get into the day. So yes, tomorrow, great day for a dog walk. Maybe a bit warm into the afternoon. Mostly sunny skies, 27 degrees by the time we get into the afternoon hours, as we see that ridge starting to build in the jet stream. Similar temperatures into Wednesday, 24 for Thursday under the sunshine, and temperatures as we head into the long weekend looking above seasonal. 25 for Friday, 26s through the long weekend. Golfers in Pinawa got an unexpected hazard on the green this week.
The unusual encounter is today's Daily Lift.
Oh, we're going to do it again.
Oh, you broke it.
So this video was captured by Marion Church at the Pinawa Golf Course on Saturday. She and her husband were at the 11th hole when the young bear wandered out onto the green. He had a brief tussle with the flagpole before snapping it.
The bear tried to make off with the flag, but eventually gave up. Church, who was visiting from Alberta, says it wasn't unusual to encounter a bear at the golf course, but this one seemed quite playful.
We're, trying to encourage him to keep moving and get back into the trees. So I'm sure the other golfers wondered why we were hollering, but no, it was fun. It was a great little moment that was real special.
The Pinawa Golf and Country Club says an adult bear and 2 yearlings have been wandering around the course this summer. It says they are usually harmless, and this is the first time a bear caused some damage. Very cute.
He was just waiting on the drink cart to arrive, I think.
They remind me of my cats.
Oh, there you go.
That's it from all of us. Have a good night.
See ya. And I probably golf better than I do.